Welcome to Serenity Wealth Now with Chris Cooper. This is not your typical financial radio show. As a licensed CPA, insurance agent, and investment advisory representative, Chris coaches his clients on a holistic view of financial well-being with an objective of providing a complete financial strategy to fund life's goals. Chris is here to guide you down the path to the financial serenity you deserve. Now, here's Chris Cooper.
All right, good morning. What's going on? So we are kicking off the month of March. February is in the past. We are heading into spring. Sitting in studio with me, I have an iced coffee in my hand from The Roasted Purpose, and Joanna Johnsen is in studio. Joanna, good morning.
Good morning.
How are you?
Great. Thanks for having me.
Thank you for this wonderful drink.
You're welcome.
I will and I told you this a little bit before. I am not an iced coffee drinker. But I got to tell you, I'm very impressed here.
It's good, right?
It's really good.
Right,
so
and it's healthy.
It's, yeah.
18 grams of protein.
That's a lot of protein.
Yeah.
My kiddo's going to hear this and be pretty excited and maybe start drinking coffee. So there's your win. He falls for the marketing really
There
easily.
You go.
So except that my marketing's not that great for him. So, that's okay. So, but anyway, so tell me a little bit about The Roasted Purpose and what you guys are all about.
So we created a protein coffee company. And when somebody fills their cup with our protein coffee, it helps us get kids off the street in St. Louis. So that's the purpose behind The Roasted Purpose.
So the dual name there as well. I love that. So what made you decide to create a company that really a coffee company that's a healthy coffee company by that in that?
So it was 5 years ago in January. I had gained a bunch of weight, about 30 pounds.
Okay.
And I was looking for a solution.
That doesn't seem possible.
I know,
you,
right?
By the way.
And it was all like spread out. So it didn't look like a lot, but it was a lot.
Probably
I
didn't feel very good.
I just felt uncomfortable,
Fair
right?
enough. Yeah, we all go through that in our lives, right? That happens.
Yeah. So I sought out a friend.
Okay.
Not a friend. She wasn't really a friend now. She's now a friend, but her
we
name's
make connections
Debbie.
like that, right?
Yeah.
So.
And she's a nutritionist. And so her and I started talking, and I went through her program. And one of the things that she found out was that I had a few sensitivities. And one of the sensitivities was to dairy.
Uh-huh.
And so I could no longer put dairy into my coffee.
And that didn't sit well with you, I guess?
No, it didn't. And she also said, and by the way, I want you to have protein with your coffee. And I was like, okay. So I started putting protein in my coffee and drinking it that way. And a few years went by, and husband and I started traveling. And we were traveling with our Prius and a camper. I know.
So you were towing a camper
with our Prius.
Did you have to do something unique to set that up to be possible?
Put a hitch on the Prius.
Is that okay? Interesting.
And I'm not really the crunchy type, right? So I have the Prius because of the gas.
Right.
It's not because I'm like super crunchy. And so anyways, we were traveling, and I would pull over every time we were traveling. If it's 6 a.m. and at 2 p.m., I was like, you got to pull over. I got to make my coffee. And so he'd pull over, and I'd make my coffee in the back of the car. And every time I would spill powders everywhere. And he's like, what are you doing? You have to do something about this, because I wasn't the one that cleaned it up.
Yeah.
He was, right? So I'm sure he was like, really, she's got to do something about this. And so I was like, I don't know what you want me to do. And I kind of got a little wifey attitude back at him.
Are you angry without coffee too?
Yes.
Yeah, I think many people are. It's okay. It's
Coffee's
our morning.
my thing,
it's
right?
our routine,
It
right?
is.
You get up. What do?
Yeah.
Coffee.
It's coffee. You get up out of bed. That's what gets me out of bed, right?
Yeah.
It's my coffee.
Absolutely.
And so, so we got in a little tiff in the back of the car and got in and went on our way. And about a month later, I woke up in the middle of the night and I was like, oh my gosh, I know what I'm going to do with my coffee. And I hit him, and he's like, what? And I'm like, oh my gosh, I know what we're going to do with the coffee. And he goes, go back to bed. And I'm like, I can't go back to bed. And so I got out of bed, and I knew the name of the company. I knew everything. So I got out, and
the vision just happened.
It just happened, right? I knew we were going to help kids. We were already helping kids.
Yeah.
And with a different organization than we're with right now, just because the other organization was about an hour and a half from here.
Okay.
So we I knew that that was a passion of mine, and I
Mhm.
knew I wanted a purpose
Sure.
with it, right? And so I started researching. I'm like, is this name taken? Like, this is kind of crazy. And it wasn't. So I bought it before he got up.
Okay.
And I wouldn't have done that, right?
Yeah.
Because I want him on my side.
Yeah.
And I just kind of waited and kept looking up things. And so he gets out of bed. I got up at like 2, and he got up at like 4:30, 5 o'clock. And I was like, oh my gosh, I've got to tell you all about this. And he's like, no, you're not. I'm going to have coffee first. I'm like, that's what I want to talk to you about. And he's like, no, you're not talking to me about that until I have my coffee. I think it's the slowest cup of coffee he's ever drank. And so after that, he was like, after he finished his coffee, he's like, okay, tell me. And so I kind of just laid it all out for him. He goes, I think that's a great idea. And I was like, okay. So that kind of started everything.
Yeah.
And I didn't really know what I was doing, right?
Yeah. Well, most business owners don't, right?
Yeah,
Like,
I've learned as I've gone
amazing.
on. Yeah.
So in my business, it's the same. I'm in the financial industry, and I knew I wanted to help people, but it's how do you go about that, right? Where do you talk to people? What do you want to do? How do you name your company? We don't think about all these little details that go into it. Like it's tough. You just have the vision and then come up with the name and all that stuff, and you get excited. But then it's like, oh,
that's the easy stuff of running a business, right? Like when you're getting ready to start, like that's the fun. Like you get all excited. You're like, I'm going to do this.
Yeah.
It's months down the road when you're getting ready to execute it and the doubt comes in and you're like, oh, what am I doing?
Yeah.
You know?
Well, yeah, because you're the janitor, you're the this, you're the that, you're the CFO, the CEO, all these things, which are great problems to have, by the way.
Right.
I think I'm unemployable at this point. You feel that way?
Yeah. And I feel like, people think that when you own a business, it's like so cool and you've got it so easy. I'm like, if you knew that I drove almost 800 miles yesterday and worked for 14 hours, they don't see that stuff. They only see what's on social media that makes you look good, right?
I do. Well, hopefully it makes you look good. That's what we try.
Hopefully.
Yeah. That's what we try. But you have to be unique. You have to be yourself.
Absolutely.
And you have that passion that exists. So, all right. So talk to me about, so you had the vision, you got this, you ready to go now, got your husband's buy-in, which God love our spouses that believe in us too somehow, right? So,
because if he didn't, I couldn't move forward, right?
I remember when I left the corporate world and joined doing what I do now. And my wife, Stacy, supported me enough and now she somehow supports me every day. So, and she always did supported me every day, right? But when it's through the employment side, it's a little bit different, right?
Absolutely.
And so it's fun, but it's also not always easy.
Yeah,
so,
right?
All right, so talk to me. So you got the vision, all that. Now talk to me about what makes your coffee special.
Okay, so we use grass-fed bovine. So one of the things I couldn't have was dairy, and I couldn't have peas. Those two create inflammation in my body. Okay. And for most people don't realize this, but 80%, so I would say 60 to 70%, actually not 80, 60 to 70% of people they have an intolerance to lactose, which is in milk. Okay. Which creates inflammation, right? And so that's
lactose intolerant.
Yeah. And there's a lot more people that are lactose intolerant than aren't. Okay. Right?
But we just don't know about it.
You just don't know about it. But if you get the inflammation or your belly bloats or, you don't feel so great, and you start paying attention to it, and a lot of times it takes you taking it out for you to realize, oh gosh, I don't really feel great. Right?
Yeah.
So I couldn't have whey and I couldn't have pea protein. So I did do collagen. And that was one thing that Debbie recommended, right? Mm-hmm. So our coffee has 18 grams of protein in it from grass-fed bovine collagen. Okay. There's no dairy. We use cashews for creamer. Okay. We use organic coffee. We use monk fruit, organic monk fruit, straight from the plant with no erythritol in it or any other sugar alcohols. And then we developed our own, we have an organic natural flavoring.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, in today's society, there's a lot of talk right now in the news about all the different things and the chemicals and the preservatives that are put into our food and really our natural diet as Americans and somewhat in the society as a whole in the world, but mostly really it's here in the United States, really.
Right.
So good time for those kind of things, and very, related to your vision, if you will.
Yeah.
So,
And it does taste different, right? So it doesn't taste
no,
like
I was expecting, I don't know what I expected, but it's very good.
you didn't
So,
expect that, right?
I did not.
And it
I
is
did not.
really good,
Yeah.
and
There
it'll
is a
make you feel
clean-
great. It is a cleaner flavor,
Yeah.
right? So a lot of times I'll add a little bit of MCT oil to mine, like a
Okay.
teaspoon. I top it with salt
Mhm.
because I like the salt. I blend it. I don't normally shake it. Some people put it in a shaker bottle and they're out the door.
Okay.
I like to blend mine because when you blend it, it activates the cashews and makes it super creamy.
Oh,
So,
which
and it
gives you
changes
that texture
Yes.
that you liked and that you missed,
Yes.
if you will.
And so the texture does change
Yeah.
when you blend it,
Yeah. Well, that's kind of cool.
Yeah.
So, all right. So 18 grams of protein in your morning coffee. That's a pretty healthy dose of protein right off the bat, isn't it?
Absolutely. And
Yeah.
then I have it again at 2:00. And
Yeah.
the 2:00 is like that time. Do you ever feel like you're slumping in the afternoon? Like, I'm tired. I want to reach for something to snack on.
Yeah. So it goes together, right?
Yeah.
The slump,
Yep.
the brain fog,
Yep.
hunger.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I have one every day at 2:00. It gets me over that hump.
Okay.
It gives me enough energy. There's only 85 milligrams in the coffee, so it doesn't keep me up at night. Some
Sure.
people that would affect, right?
Yeah.
But for me, it doesn't. And then it curbs my appetite. I have energy, and I don't have my 2:00 slump anymore.
Right.
You
right.
know?
And it helps the brain continue thinking. as well.
Absolutely.
And then so protein helps to curb appetite as well,
Right.
doesn't it?
Yeah. And it makes you feel full.
Yeah.
Like, so when you finish that, you should feel full.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which obviously helps.
Absolutely.
So if you're looking to lose weight, and then are there inflammation benefits as well?
Absolutely. So it's an anti-inflammatory. It is an anti-inflammatory coffee, right?
Yep.
Like it's not going to create inflammation within your body.
Okay.
So you're going to feel great. You should not have any bloating. So
Yeah.
before, when I would drink my coffee, I would have the bloat.
Okay.
I've had people that have messaged me and they're like, oh my gosh, I used to have my morning coffee and run to the bathroom. I don't do that with yours anymore.
Huh.
Right. And so there's a lot of benefits, and you should feel really great after drinking it.
Okay.
Yeah,
So helps mindset as well then.
absolutely. So
What's the mindset? Is there a special ingredient there or something? I don't know.
No, I would say it's the caffeine. It's
Okay.
all the ingredients, right?
Yeah.
Because you're nourishing your body.
Sure.
So, and it's going to make you feel, your mind is going to be focused because it's not going to be, you're not going to have all the additives that are in the coffee creamers or the
Yeah.
syrups that are making you feel like junk, right?
Yeah. Yeah. So the cleanliness is what kind of helps with that feel
Absolutely.
as well.
Yeah. And you're
That's
not going
cool.
to have the crash.
Yeah.
Right? Because the protein's going to help with you not crashing. So there's many people that get up in the morning, they make their coffee, and that's what they run on.
Yeah.
Right? And then at 10 o'clock, what do?
Yeah. You got to go get a refill.
Yeah. Or
Yeah.
they're exhausted, right?
Yeah.
Or they stop at the vending machine and they
Mhm.
make a bad choice. You should feel really good all morning,
Nice.
right?
Yeah. So I used to do a lot of longer distance triathlon stuff.
Sure.
I know I got the build for it, right? Yeah. So absolutely, folks. I used to do this. I retired, is what
Yeah.
I say, from triathlon. But I used to tell people, when you go and do some of those longer term endurance things, at some point in time, you will hit that wall or that crash. And so you're going to want a Coke or something like that. Once you go down that path, you kind of have to continue,
Absolutely.
because otherwise you will hit that wall and it'll just crash down.
Right.
And that's that preservatives and the additives that you're talking about.
Yeah. So my husband actually does longer bike rides.
Yeah.
He's kind of crazy.
Yeah,
Right?
you told me. So he did the entire KD Trail in one day.
So
Like,
yeah. Oh yeah. One day. He did-
straight.
Yeah. I think it's like 250 miles, right?
Yeah, it's something ridiculous.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's super crazy.
Yeah.
He drank our coffee, and he knew that he needed more fuel,
Sure.
right? He's like, I need more fuel. I'm not fueling my body right. And that's when he started talking to me. He's like, I want you to create something. And I'm like, okay, I don't know. And so now we are going to release an endurance drink
Okay.
that does have 100 milligrams of caffeine in it.
Yep.
And it's not coffee caffeine,
Okay.
So it'll be interesting. We're going to release that May 1st.
And I assume similar objectives, right? That clean,
Super clean.
organic kind of
Yes.
thought process,
Yes.
right? No additives, nothing
No.
like that. Just all
Yeah. As clean as
natural.
we can make it for
Yeah.
an endurance drink, right?
Well, you still have to have some things that have the flavor. I mean, because
Absolutely.
if you're riding 250 miles, like you deserve some.
Yeah, so there's
flavor.
going to be flavoring. It'll be organic, very similar to what
Sure.
we put in the coffee. but it's going to have sugar, right?
Okay.
There has to be a glucose component to it to
Because
keep you
your
running.
muscles feel.
Right.
Yeah, you
Yeah.
fuel. Yeah.
Yeah. So for
Absolutely.
fuel. Yeah. So that that's completely different from our coffee,
Yeah.
right? So yeah, we're getting ready to release that in May, and that should be fun.
Well, good time frame.
Yeah.
I mean, we're March, so I don't like the winter. Do you?
No,
I'm not.
I'm ready for it to be over.
It needs to be over.
Yeah.
Yeah. I did a whole groundhog thing, and then the little guy saw his shadow and like continued it along, and
Right.
Yeah.
And
So-
this week was so beautiful.
Yeah,
So it's like
I know.
really great.
And I went skiing. I like to ski. So to me, going skiing, snow is awesome because skiing's fun.
Okay.
But snow's not good unless you're skiing. Like,
So I
yeah.
just don't like snow.
well,
I mean,
Yeah, I
it's
get it.
pretty. I like to stay inside.
it is really pretty.
I
the
went
trees
skiing
and
one
everything. Yeah.
time. The people took me on Black Diamond.
Oh,
I almost went over the
on
mountain.
your first time? No, you
Yeah.
can't do that.
Well, after I was in ski school.
Yeah.
But then it was scary and they thought
Yeah.
it'd be funny, I think, and almost went off the side of the mountain. I was done. I haven't been on a pair of skis
I
since.
understand that.
But water skiing
Yeah.
all day long.
All really?
Yeah. Love to water
Okay.
ski.
Well, it is different.
Yeah.
So, well, that's
Mhm.
cool. So, winter's kind of coming away. So now this is going to release in May, which is really good time frame for some of those kind of outdoor activities.
Yeah, absolutely.
So now, are you into the cycling as well?
So I have a bike.
Okay.
And I cycle.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say I'm a cyclist.
Yeah,
You know,
all right.
I mean, like my feet get caught in my clips and sometimes I fall over, you know?
That's okay.
So that's how much of a cyclist
Yeah.
I am.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I love just getting out and enjoying we have some really cool trails in the area. Katy Trail, of course, 250 miles all the way out to basically Kansas City area.
And I'm not doing that.
yeah, that's a long time.
Yeah.
And quite frankly, it's very boring. And very flat and very straight.
The whole
and
time. Mhm.
yes, I've done some
Mhm.
races where, you do like out to Herman and stuff. And it's a lot.
Yeah.
It's just, and people don't think it's flat. So they think it's easy. It's actually harder
Right.
because all you do is pedal the whole time.
It's
or else you
exhausting.
stop. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's mentally exhausting
Yeah.
too.
So as much as I do is I'll ride around Lake St. Louis.
That's
and,
nice. Yeah.
Husband will get behind me actually and grab my seat and push me up the hill. So
Nice.
yeah. So
Well,
that's about
there's
as much.
things that he could do, like a pull. He could pull you.
So
too,
I have
so-
seen those like tow ropes.
They exist.
I said I think you need to get me one.
Nice. You should just go with the full thing where it's just you're in a cart behind,
Right?
Just
Oh, that would
enjoying
be
the
real nice.
scenery,
Yeah.
a little
mhm.
rickshaw type thing, maybe. I don't know.
I don't know if you'd appreciate that.
You could like whip him or something, right? So just give him fuel the whole time. It would be
Right?
fine. If you
I'd be
can
like,
do
"Come on,
250
babe.
miles, geez,
You can do this.
whatever.
Right?
Make it a competition.
mhm.
He'll be appreciated. So, all right. So where can we find in the area your coffees?
So we are in 10 Chinook stores
Okay.
around St. Louis. They can go to our website and do
Yep.
the store locator and I'll pull up those 10 Chinooks. We're on a trial there.
Okay.
Other places are like O'Fallon Nutrition, Detox Yoga, Integrity Fitness. A lot of the wellness stores
hmm
carry our products
Yeah.
that are local.
And
So
then you have subscriptions online as well.
we do have subscriptions online. Yeah.
So that's pretty cool.
Mm-hmm.
Now, so you've built this thing from scratch. So talk to me about your employee base, dedicated employee base as well.
Okay, so
Yeah.
there's 3 of us, right? It's myself, my husband, and our son. And
Nice.
so sometimes all of us are running the assembly line
Yeah.
and manufacturing the product, and then I'm out doing sales and I'm the CFO and I'm the CEO.
So many hats,
so
right?
many hats.
all the time.
Yeah.
It's fun, but at some point in time, you're like, oh man, somebody needs to help me do this, and then you're
Yeah.
like, wait a minute, oh, I guess I have
Right.
to do that.
And I got to clean the toilets
Yeah,
too,
right.
Yeah.
Jeez.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and it's been an interesting journey, right?
Yeah.
So it was really funny. Somebody had asked me last week, how are you doing what you're doing? Like, do you ever get scared? And I was like, yeah, all
Every
the time.
day.
Yes. And I do it afraid,
Yeah.
right? Because if you're going to lead people, you're going to expect people that you are leading to go into chartered waters that they've never gone before.
Yeah,
If you're not willing to do that yourself,
right.
then are you really a leader?
No, that's fair. Absolutely.
So, I mean, I was
Yeah.
scared to come here,
Yeah.
I
I know you were talking about that. I'm going, I think you're going to be okay. Like I've seen you, at grocery stores and things
Yeah.
like that, doing your thing. You do a lot of videos and content on social media. I'm like, I don't know what the nerve-wracking part of this is. I think you're going to be just fine.
Yeah.
So
It is.
it's
a little
me,
scary,
right? I'm
It is.
intimidating.
It is.
Yeah, it's tough. I'm so professional in here. So Yeah, I've actually worked with people that are professional broadcasters. Now that is intimidating.
I bet that would be.
Yeah.
Hmm.
So we got a few of them coming in here shortly. So yeah, in upcoming episodes. That always makes me nervous. Because
Yeah,
now I'm
I
like,
bet.
man, I barely know what all these buttons do.
They're like,
you know,
right? And it is
freaks me out.
fancy and lots of colors.
It is. That's what I like. I see
Yeah.
the pretty colors. I'm
Right?
like, that looks cool. Yeah. Can I change them to be like custom? You know, those are things I think about, right? So, well, this is really cool. So you got this new drink coming out. So more endurance focused or sports focused.
Yes.
Subscription based online. So the roastedpurpose.com.
Yep.
Right. So talk to me about the purpose, the charities you support. So what you mentioned it briefly.
Sure.
I love talking about charity planning. Like that's awesome for me. So a lot of what I do, I save people on taxes, right? So I help people find ways to give more, get more from their life, but also give more to causes we care about.
Yeah.
Through, charity donations and things like that is one way to do that. So talk to me about the charity that you're involved with.
So we partner with a company called the Restoration House in
Okay.
downtown St. Louis. And we do that in two ways. So one way we take proceeds from our coffee
Okay.
and we go out and feed the homeless who hopefully lead us to the kids on the street that we
Sure.
can help get off the street and into programs, right? Like
Amazing.
that's really what we look to do.
Okay.
And then the other way we do it is we go down to St. Louis, we knock on all the doors up and down the streets, and we invite the entire community in for dinner.
Wow.
And so what we're looking for there is kids who might need help.
Sure.
Maybe they're couch surfing and they're jumping from house to house to house
Yeah.
before they end up on the streets, right?
Wow.
And so if we can find them before then and offer them services and help get them off the street and keep them off the street,
Yeah.
then their success rate is so much higher,
Of course.
right?
Absolutely.
And so that's the purpose behind the Roasted Purpose, and that is really our mission. So not only are we donating financially, but we actually go down and serve,
Committed.
and that's important. to
Yeah,
us.
part
Yeah.
of the community. And
Yeah.
I love that. That's being part of the community is something that I cherish so much. Just being able to get out there, do educational events, teach and coach from a financial perspective, important lessons that everyone needs to know. And I love doing that inside the community. So
Yeah,
kudos to you.
absolutely. And so like our whole goal is that as it continues to grow and we move out, that we can hopefully do this in every state across the United States.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah.
You guys are you're going to have to increase the size of your family or something.
Or hire employees,
Yeah.
right?
Oh, there you go. That's fine. I guess.
And then
can
when do you do that,
too.
right? Like there's a financial balance to
There
that.
is. Well, and then
Yeah.
you have to think about, okay, so how do you get all those things in place, right? Do they have the same passion and all that
Right.
stuff, right? There's a lot to it because
Yeah.
you are, I know this because I know you here, you're dedicated to your brand.
Right.
Yeah, like it's part of who you are.
Absolutely.
Right. And that's very common with business owners
Yeah.
is that passion doesn't, it's hard to hire,
Right. Yeah.
So, because they didn't wake up at 2 a.m. with their vision.
Right.
You know?
And I joke with all my friends that love our product, right? I'm like, as soon as I can, I'm going to hire you, right?
Yeah.
And they're like, oh, okay, you can't afford me. And I'm like, one day I will, I promise,
Nice.
Yeah.
Well, that's super fun. Super cool. So, all right. So got into this because of that vision and
Yep.
really trying to figure out your, some balance, right? Trying to get some health concerns that you had
Right.
and fill that hole, right?
Absolutely.
Long-term been very successful for you, right?
Absolutely. Yeah.
And it led you to a greater purpose in many ways as well.
Yes.
I
And
love the puns on these kind of things, right? So
Yeah.
there's a lot of puns in my Serenity name as well. So
Yeah, it's fun. And it's, I'm very thankful,
yeah,
of the journey. I wasn't thankful when I was gaining weight and had no idea where the inflammation was coming from, right?
Yeah.
And feeling so bad.
sure.
But now I'm extremely thankful because without that, I wouldn't have this,
Yeah. Yeah. Now, can you talk a little bit about like how do you get into the grocery stores and all that kind of stuff? Like that's, just people don't just think about that kind of stuff.
Absolutely.
So-
It's really funny. I was listening to a podcast yesterday while I was driving, and they were talking about every company does goals, right?
Yeah.
And financial goals. And we
Yeah.
recently just got a bank loan, and they're like, I need your 5-year projections. I'm like, they're fake. Like,
Let me just give you a little bit of it. All 5-year projections are fake. Okay.
So I'm
I don't
like,
care who the company
right?
is. They're all fake.
I'm like, what's the purpose of this exercise, right?
Yeah.
And but I think we can write those down on a piece of paper,
Yeah.
but we don't back up. Like, how are you going to get there?
Right.
I'm not great at sales, but
Yeah.
I've always been in sales my entire life.
Uh-huh.
And when I say I'm not great in sales, I've seen some really good salespeople,
Sure.
right? The only difference between me and a really good salesperson is I'm going to outwork you.
Yeah.
So when they're making 10 calls and they're banking on 3 people, I'm out there making 40 calls
Yeah.
and I'm hoping to get 10 to 20,
Okay.
right?
Yep.
And so I'm making more calls than anybody else. And you make enough calls and you
Sure.
talk to somebody enough times and
Yeah.
you build that relationship, they're going to want to talk to you, right?
Yeah. Well,
So-
especially with passion that you're bringing too.
Absolutely. Right. And I would go in, I cold called grocery stores. The grocery stores that I'm like, they can't make their own decisions,
Yeah.
right? Everything goes through corporate. I was going to cold call them anyways.
Sure.
You want to know why? Because I'm going to go into that health market and I'm going to talk to that manager
Yeah.
and I'm going to say, hey, try this. And they're going to try my coffee. And no joke, every time they're like, oh, wow, that was really good. I wasn't expecting that.
Yeah.
And then once they tell you how great it is, I'm like, okay, who do I need to talk to?
There you go.
Right.
Yeah.
And so there was I was in Dallas. I went and cold called a Sprouts. I think it was a Sprouts or an HEB. I think it was an HEB actually. And so I'm in the HEB and I talk to a manager and I give him a sample. And she's like, okay, well, actually we can make our own decisions, but you have to do it this way.
Okay.
And so, might have been a Sprouts. I don't even remember now. I've made so many cold calls. I'd have to go back and look at my notes, my CRM. But it's like, it's crazy what you find out walking into the grocery stores. And then I
Right.
was cold calling Hy-Vees and walked into one of the Hy-Vees in Columbia. And she goes, actually, I'm a protein test store.
Oh, geez. Well,
I'm
that
like,
works
oh,
out.
okay. And she goes, I can bring
Amazing.
you in.
Yeah.
And so that started our journey with Hy-Vee. And I think we're 25 Hy-Vees now.
Fantastic.
And what's so great about that is most people won't get out of their car,
yeah.
walk into a grocery store,
Well, they
and
think
make
it's
a
too
cold
big.
call, right?
They think now that decision can't be made here.
Yeah.
So I'm just not going to have that conversation.
Yeah. It's
Right.
just about going into
Yeah.
and meeting people.
Well, it's
People
a great
wanna
time for
learn
this
from-
too.
People want to meet people, right?
Yeah,
Like, so when you build
absolutely.
those relationships and you tell your story, they want to help you.
Right.
I haven't met somebody that has said, I don't want to help you
Yeah.
along the way, right?
Right. Very cool.
So,
Very cool. Well, you mentioned CRM, right? The things that you know when you get into the coffee business, you don't think about having to have a customer relationship management database, right? Like, geez,
there's a lot of things I
all
didn't
these
think
little
about when I
business
got
owner
into the coffee
things,
business, right?
Yeah. Yeah. So that's why we work with professionals. That's why we try to
Absolutely.
get some guidance along the way, but
Yep.
so much of it is self-learned as well.
Absolutely.
So,
Yep.
well, this has been awesome. The most enjoyable cup of coffee I'll have this week. So not a bad thing at all. So thank you guys. Thank you so much for coming.
Thanks for having me.
This is a pleasure, and enjoy. Thank you for all the things you do for our community as
Awesome.
well.
Thank
That's
you.
awesome. All right, folks, I love to start off my day with purpose, right? That is a great mission. If every day starts off with the purpose, wow, you can really accomplish a lot that day. So I start off my day with a cup of coffee. Many people do. So it's really cool to be able to have a great, enjoyable cup of coffee with somebody who is changing their lifestyle and changing others' lifestyle with a healthy coffee drink and really making a difference right here in the St. Louis community. That is a really cool purpose, and I'm really happy to be able to participate in that conversation today. It is important. There are so many great businesses in this community who are reaching out, helping others, and helping people live a better life. And right now in the month of March, as we think about transitioning over to that newer season, right? Get this winter nonsense over with. I don't care what the Groundhog Day says. It's time. He saw a shadow. But winter's done. We need to be done. So we need to enjoy spring, get some of those spring cleaning things underway, right? There's some really good financial things to think about in that time frame as well, right? What can we transition to make sure that the rest of this year, 2025 and really beyond, are set up for success? Those are great conversations to have. Those are intentional conversations to have. Make sure you kick off this spring with purpose, and that can include a review of your financial situation as well. So reach out, SerenityWealthNow.com. Check us out. Set up some time on our calendar. Happy to make sure you have that financial serenity you deserve that can give you the purpose in your life as well. Until next week.
Serenity Now! This is Serenity Wealth Now with Chris Cooper. Request a free copy of Chris's latest book, The New Holistic Retirement, by visiting SerenityWealthNow.com.
Investment advice offered through Fortis Capital Advisors, LLC.
Serenity Now!